If you can stop talking for 10 seconds, that would be fantastic. You want to hit the start timer on there? You want to hit? You want to start podcasting, genius?
Hey, Biff, what did the letter O say to the letter Q?
You know, I should be able to figure it out, but what did the letter O say to the letter Q?
Dude, your penis is showing. I'll win you back with this one. Hey, Biff.
No, you won't. No,
Biff,
you won't.
how can a woman scare her gynecologist?
How can a woman scare her gynecologist, Jacques?
Become a ventriloquist. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Carnival Personnel. The gang is all here. I'm Jacques.
This is Biff.
I refuse to openly laugh at that last funny joke in the fear that it might encourage you to tell further jokes.
This is the first time in way too long that the three of us has got to chat.
Yeah.
This is Joe, by the way.
Yeah.
It is Joe. I blame time zones and my poor planning.
Well, just, and I've had all kinds of just stuff going on, so yeah.
But it's been a minute, so we'll get right into it. Biff, did you get a chance to check out last week's podcast?
You know what? I haven't. I've loaded it down, but yeah, I got to check it out. It sounds really cool, right?
It's not your music per se, but I mean, you're well aware of who Public Image Limited is, Ministry, and Nine Inch Nails, and the long story short, this amazing guy, Martin Atkins, at age 20 joins Johnny Lydon's Public Image Limited, co-writes their second album, which is their quintessential, has Anger's Not an Energy, Rise, This Is Not a Love Song, their biggest hits. Turns out, he goes on and, he's a touring drummer with Nine Inch Nails. I mean, he is a cornerstone of the industrial music revolution. And what a sweetheart. Absolute sweetheart.
Yes.
And I'm a huge fan of all of those MTVs, behind the music kind of stuff. So really, when it comes down to just all that, what happened with bands, what happened with music, that I'm not really that genre, I don't really care about the genre too much.
The funny thing is, I tell the whole story how management found his private little museum he started in Chicago a couple years ago. We talked about that.
Right.
And then honestly, the big thing for me is I research, I know who he is. I love those bands, especially probably Pill the most. Pill is probably the band, I really liked the most at the time when they came out. But then doing research, it was the summer of '89. I'm still playing junior hockey. I'm going to Fitchburg in the fall to play hockey, but I'm at my then girlfriend's house, half asleep on the living room floor at 2 a.m. watching 120 Minutes when Head Like a Hole video comes out.
Right.
I honestly, you all have those moments in your life where you're like, you can point to this changed everything. And that video, the next day I went out and borrowed a set of drums I never brought back, switched my major from history to filmmaking. And then it turns out Martin was a drummer in that video.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And before that, the last, sideshow that we did, we had a comedian on, Steve, Bjork, who I've been a fan of for a while. And I'll let Joe talk a little bit about going and see him last week.
Oh, what a wonderful event. It's much better than going to see that boring old Saturday Night Live that we would have gone to.
Oh, that's right.
I would have much rather would have gone, and much happier we went to the, I think somebody called it an attic in in some sort of like Knights of Columbus type of clubhouse. I don't know what you call those places anymore. To see a few comedians do a comedy fundraiser, an annual comedy fundraiser. So, and then they were all great. All the comics were great.
Right.
Steve was sort of the headliner there, and was the headliner. But it was a very diverse audience. I think it got a lot of different types of white people. You had your rednecks, you had your crackers, you had your pasties, you had all sorts of you had people from both north and more north. New Hampshire. No, it was fine. It was great. And the in jokes of the towns, like I didn't know New Hampshire could be that specific. I thought,
Yeah.
But all in all, it was a good time. And I'm a fan of Steve Bjork.
He did the podcast and was just awesome. Like I said, my sister years ago had said, "Hey, you're going to really like this guy." We saw him a couple times. The chat we had was just fantastic. And as Joe and I are driving there, and my sister met us there, which was nice. As we were driving there, it kind of hit me that this is what I'm working towards, doing these gigs, and I said that to Joe. It's going to be interesting. I've seen these gigs a number of times before, but this is the first time since I've really gotten back into comedy like 7-8 months ago that the next rung up on the ladder is, well, this is 2 rungs up on the ladder. It's these, no, seriously, it's these local fundraisers. It's the Knights of Columbus gig, having a fundraiser for this high school band.
I think it's only 2 rungs up the ladder. Like this is like 7 or 8. I mean, there's a lot of rungs that I think you might be overlooking.
No, I would say this is 2, and it's like the cruise ship is 3. Now, when I say that, Joe, I preface it, and I'll put it in Biff's term. Each rung up a ladder is going from junior A to AHL
to hockey level terms
to NHL or in baseball. Right. I mean, there are some kids who can go from high school baseball to single A, or a year or 2 of college baseball to single A, and then the jump to double A. The pitchers are pitching from 85 miles an hour to 90, and the triple A guys are pitching 90 to 95. The MLB guys are pitching 95, but they know where the fuck the ball's going, and so each rung up the ladder is, Joe, it's like your old basement steps at the Lucian. Like the first step might be 2 or 3 inches. The next step is 12, and the step after. So this is a couple rungs up, but it was interesting, and Joe nailed it. The diversity outreach was not robust. But it was fun. But this is it. It's like 50 white people in a room having fun, raising money, in this case for Alzheimer's. And the other comedians were really good, but Steve is definitely, Steve by choice or by, circumstance in his life easily is 1-2 more rungs up. Like Jim Colton, who we had on, who does the cruise ships, they're on the same level as funny and polished and professional. Jim just has the life where he can go away for a week and do a Carnival cruise line.
Right. Yeah.
Tilt your camera up, Jacques. I'm seeing more chin than I wanna. All right, there we go.
All right. So I mean,
you're doing the the Lemmy Motorhead up, looking up.
Ace of Space. Ace of Space.
R.I.P.
A great documentary. That documentary on him is fantastic and sad. So it's interesting going there, and I have a lot of thinking to do what my phase 2 is, because I set some goals when I started this out, and breaking it down 6 months, 1 year, 2 years type thing. And between, I'm about 8-9 months in. I have a big booked show. Well, booked at this level, a Mondo comedy show. It's my 3rd time going. It's my only booked show has been Mondo Comedy, but I've got to go up there 3 times. And, this Steve has headlined this. So when I say, the difference between me doing the Mondo Comedy show being 3 or 5 comedians or 2 or 5 comedians versus being the 4th one or Steve, it's a great jump up. I definitely understand that. But I'm really starting to think about, okay, what is the next phase? And part of the next phase is Joe and I have been talking about this, Biff. I don't know if you're aware, but I'm vastly becoming the king of dead media in the greater Lowell area.
King of dead media, like what? Like print media or something like that? Like,
yeah.
Yes, check.
Check. And what else?
Okay.
What else?
Radio?
Yeah. Could you be just a little more specific?
Like FM radio?
Oh, swing and a miss.
They're gonna remove them from Teslas. AM radio. The answer we were looking for
is that
was
right?
AM. We would have also accepted ham.
So, you know,
you know the irony of that, right? Like, you know who listens to AM radio, right? Are the anti woke crowd, right?
100%.
The sleep.
And you know, the guy running Tesla is the, you know, now turning into the prince of anti woke, right? So
1000%. And
it's kind of yeah.
Yeah, it's a little counterintuitive, you know. Like you would think he would put more AM radio, like only AM radio in Teslas.
No, he actually has the like an app that connects to all of your AM radio stations through the internet, right?
It's funny. So about a year ago, I talked about it on this podcast how I got into a battle one day with the local morning show on the AM station, which is good. Look, it's all local politics. It's, you know, they have the school committee people on, they have the city council guys. I've actually am quickly becoming friends with the city manager in this town, for a variety of reasons, which I think I'll have on as a guest pretty soon. Tom Golden. Yeah, he's a great guy. Like, honestly, I won't go down the wormhole. He helped out with something when he was a state rep a couple years ago personally, and then he's become the city manager. And the last two times I've gone into this radio station to promote a comedy thing, he had done a hit like a half hour earlier, so he's still at the station. And so I hung out with him this morning. But yeah, the AIM radio station has reached out to me and asked me if I can help. And that part of the next phase of what I'm doing is producing shows. And they have a weekly show by a vet, an 11-year vet of the military, an 11-year police vet who ended up getting hurt in the line of duty. And he has a organization called Hidden Battles, and it's a veteran first responders PSD support group.
Okay.
And so I'm going to be putting on a comedy night for them.
I'm going to tell a gynecology joke there?
Oh, yeah, I'm leading off with that. But it's interesting. Lord. You know, where I'm a bleeding heart, and I'm really honest, it's like, yeah, I am not a fan of the military. I'm not a fan of cops in general, but like, you know, like I've explained to my sons when they're like, you do so much for the military. It's like, yeah, I do stuff for the people in the military. Like I resent that the budget, like if education could just have 1% of the military budget. I'm not a fan of Raytheon or Lockheed Martin, but the poor saps who come from towns like Lowell who get sent to places they can't point out on the map.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I have plenty of Catholic friends. They're great people, but the church, another story.
And so
count those guys out as sponsors, by the way. Bye, Lockheed Martin. Bye, Raytheon. Bye, Halliburton.
Did I ruin something that you had going,
burning
Joe?
All these bridges. You burned the bridges before they had a chance to bomb them. Anyway. Continue,
but I did. So talking to this guy, you know, he was saying that a lot of first responders don't seek medical or mental support because they're afraid, you're seeing a psychiatrist. Well, you might not be fit for duty. And a lot of people hide it, you know, and then the stigma of like, I'm a big tough vet. I don't need this, you know, like that's for wussies.
I think mental health in general, right? I mean, that's not just, and that's certainly just not with them, that in general, right? People, you know, I mean, there's still, like you said, the stigma to it, and it's, you know, and not easy to find either. Like, you know, it's not necessarily that easy to really deal with. So yeah. So
this is kind of, these are my words. It's kind of like an AA for helping vets and first responders seek out mental health, and a less formal traditional way, but still getting the support they need. So that's one of the next, my next phase is like, okay, well, I've become friends with a lot of comics. A lot of, you know, newer comics like I'm working with, and there's a lot of, you know, it's like talking to a lot of people, there's like a new wave every 6 to 8 months. And the wave that I'm in, everybody that I've become really good friends with seem to have started at the same time. Like what's that thing, Joe, where like two songwriters will kind of write a similar song at the same time?
Parallel thinking.
There's a lot of parallel starting off for this. So my next phase is interesting. I also had our conversation with a guy named Dante the Comic, who I've been friends with online for a couple years.
Right.
He's a social justice warrior in Los Angeles.
Yep.
He was first season, the runner-up in Last Comic Standing. He's a 30-year touring comic. He also has a management company where he represents about 300 comics and performers. One of them, JJ Walker. So, nice. Which I think is
M.I.T.
Nailed it. So circling back, yeah, Joe, Biff, the local newspaper, the Lowell Sun, is doing an article on the comedy scene here and these different events. I've met with the writer a couple times. She's coming to Mondo Comedy next Thursday, and now the radio station. So yes, I've become the king of dead media, and the third largest market in Massachusetts.
That is impressive.
Or it might be fourth. I don't know if it's definitely Boston, Worcester, and then it's Springfield and Lowell, or it's Lowell and Springfield. I don't know. But either way, hey, I'm in there somewhere. So
there you go.
And speaking of delightful and a little sad, the Beaver Cup. We haven't got to talk about that. Why don't you let Joe know about the Beaver Cup?
Yeah. Well, so the Beaver Cup is I had a friend who really aptly said that Caltech athletics is where you see the some of the most serious sportsmanship going on among the worst talents, and that's what the Beaver Cup is. Where essentially it's Caltech versus M.I.T. and a bunch of nerds trying to play hockey. But in all fairness, M.I.T. tends to be, they were traditionally better because they had their own rink and they had whatever, and Caltech is tiny compared to M.I.T. But we had our last one, and this has been going on since like the mid '80s, where somebody had this bright idea. Hey, we're both technical schools. We're both the Beavers. We should play each other. And so Caltech traveled to M.I.T. to play at their home rink. And I think our initial game got shellacked like 14-1 or something like that. So the first few Beaver Cups, Caltech just got killed. And I think Caltech didn't win their first Beaver Cup until about maybe the 20th one. Who knows? Wow. So, but recently we've been a lot better, partly because M.I.T. is still using the old geezers that played in the 80s, plus a few younger recruits. And then we managed to find some younger guys. So, and that's what kind of helped us this time around, where we, my co-organizers and we've been doing this for a long time. We said, I think we're done. He's like, yeah, I was hoping that you would say so, and so the M.I.T. wants to do more, but Caltech side said, I think let's call it. We had a few years off with COVID. It was kind of a shit show, and we did our final one. And so for final one, we played an epic game. It was a close game throughout, but we ended up winning the game 3-0. So as it stands now, this is like one of those things where, like in a lot of these college competitions, right? Two colleges play each other for a certain whatever trophy, and then the winner gets to keep the trophy. So it seems like maybe we're kind of semi-permanently keeping the Beaver Cup. So there you go.
So Biff, did I meet you through Caltech or through Friday night?
It was neither, actually. I think you were in a team called Doom in Burbank with Natalie, and I think
I was never in a league team until
really.
No, the only hockey I played was essentially Friday night and a little Sunday. So I don't know if I met you through Hafen when he asked me to play for Caltech, or if Hafen. So the long story short, Joe, when I got roped into the Caltech world, I don't know if you were the goalie, but Biff, it was the biggest shit show ever. No, I mean it. First of all, let me take a step back. Every person I've gotten dressed with and hit the ice with Caltech, wonderful. And I mean it. To a man and woman, I never did not enjoy the Caltech people. And they always welcome me in It was fantastic. But in the late 90s, for a few people who don't know, my starter wife was a professional hockey player. And she and I got asked to come and work out with the Caltech team. At the time, Biff, there was 7 or 8 players. 8 or 9 players.
Yeah.
And
on good days we had 11 or so.
But there was a couple people who, there's a club hockey team. I'm going to, and didn't know, and I'm not being funny or exaggerating, didn't know how to put the equipment on in the locker room. There was one guy, I remember getting undressed after the game, and I'm like, are you wearing blue jeans? Underneath his shin pads and his pants.
True story.
And then when I got out there in the mid 90s, you still had people saying, "Oh, I play college hockey back east. I'm from Canada. I'm really good." And within a shift or two, honestly, if somebody hasn't played for 10 years, there's so much rust, but they know where they're supposed to be.
Yep.
And they'll have a move or they'll do something and you're like, okay. And then the next week, or sometimes it's 4 or 5 shifts later, the hands aren't there, but they know how to shoot. They're not maybe, but there's so many yahoos who would come out saying, "Oh, I played here and there." Yeah. So some asshole inside the Caltech world thought, for the first time ever in the late 90s, they're putting together real teams. UCLA is fielding a team. Arizona State is fielding a team. USC is fielding a team. And these are schools of 20,000 plus people. Out of the 20,000 plus people, you're going to have 20 people who played high school hockey in Michigan, Minnesota, Illinois, and we're playing. And we played teams that had 20 people on the bench, matching uniforms. And honestly, I'm on the bench with, the wife at the time, Hafen, who at the time was getting good.
Wait. Hafen was not the wife. Just
no. but hey, there were moments where it blurred. But no, I mean, Hafen, absolute sweetheart. We will have him on. I still think he's a spy, but he was okay. We had a game. We had a game somewhere.
Was it like one of the San Diegos or something like that, or where I
remember
they went all violence on you, right?
Well, no, that was when I was a ringer for the Los Angeles Fire Department.
Oh, okay.
Playing the San Diego Fire Department at a big fundraiser down there. It was about 2,000, 2,500 people at that. And that got out of hand because San Diego beat LA every year by 8 or 9 goals. And now all of a sudden they didn't like that a girl. And it's funny because the ex-wife, she was always, "Oh, look, a girl, she's playing. That's cool. Hey, she's pretty good. Hey, that's cool. Hey, she's better than me. Fuck that bitch. I can run her." And then it's like, well, good luck, because she grew up breaking horses in the wilderness in Montana. She can handle herself, but then she had this. Anyways, with Caltech, there was one game and we're down 6 or 7-0 at the end of the first period. And I remember I felt like being an asshole, but I came to the bench and I was a little better than I am now. And I said, and I wasn't kidding, as soon as I get the puck, I'm going to skate as hard as I can behind our own net. I need you guys to get the fuck out of the way, because it's harder getting around you than, because they literally didn't know where to go. So I said, every time I get the puck, just go right to the boards and stay there.
Yeah.
And we were losing like 6-0, 7-0. We ended up losing like 11-10, 10-9. But it's like, and like Nat probably had like 8 or 9 points. I don't know if Riley, because my ex-wife's little brother, junior A level player. I mean, not a great player, but probably
he can skate,
the fastest skater ever.
Yeah, skates like the wind.
Had junior C level hockey IQ and maybe junior B like shooting and passing, but absolutely AHL level skating, absolutely the win. And it's so that was the team. And then I remember when I lost my shoulder the first time, we're playing USC or UCLA now, and we only had like 8 or 9 players, and they have, and there's kids on that team in between every play coming over asking me, hey, on this play you went here, and asking me to coach. And then like the assistant coach came to me and said, yeah, the coach came over and asked if you want to come coach. I'm like, no, but thank you. But I lost my shoulder in that. I tore the labrum. I had to go back out and play. Now, I told Biff, I'm rounding up, this is the end of the Caltech thing. The guys from MIT, and I have so many friends who went to MIT, and I have so many friends who went to Caltech. I failed out of high school, and yet I'm surrounded. But it was always a wonderful thing. And then we would go out and just have pizza. And it was funny because when we started playing, I don't think you had a little one yet.
No.
And
that's
so
correct.
it was fun. It was like the people from MIT. It was a guy's weekend away, and then it became a guys and girlfriends or guys with their wife. And then the kids started coming out, and it was really nice to see over these 25 years. I'm bummed that I wasn't part of the last game. We are going to have one. I've asked Biff to reach out. There was one guy at Caltech who all of a sudden shows up one day, really thick accent. A little stoic. The guy was a little. Am I saying it right?
Sure,
stoic.
Sure,
at first, like the first couple years. I've played with. I played with some of the best people in the NHL. The guy Paul Legua had the number 1 draft pick. Who was the number 1 draft pick? Alexander Daigle. I've played with the best of the best, so I know how good I'm not. I've played with some monsters. We've had NHL guys. I played with Marty McSorley, one of the premier tough guys through the 80s and early 90s. This guy that played for Caltech, his name is Pavel. Again, having a dad who became a bodybuilder in the 80s, I've never been around a stronger human being in my life. In the late 90s, I'm 200 pounds. I'm in great shape. I'm a couple years out of playing real hockey. And when this guy started to come to practice, it became a one-on-one game. And I'm a little faster than him. He's 20,000 times stronger than me. I mean, I remember fighting for the puck in the corner, and I'm pretty good. If I can either come out of the corner with the puck or at least keep you from coming out of the corner with the puck. He would just pick you up. Just literally.
You know what the saddest part of it is that, and let's wrap it up here because we've been kind of rambling. Saddest part of it is that Pablo, previous to that, didn't play for about 2 years because he shredded his knee. Like his knee was so shredded that he just refused to play. And then eventually he said, screw it, I'll come back and play again. So he was that with a shredded knee. So just imagine when he didn't have that shredded knee. Fucking monster.
So he wouldn't play hockey at all, and he would play once a year at Caltech. And the first period, useless. The second period, the third period, at least 2 or 3 times a game, he said, I'm going from here to there. God help anybody who gets in the way of now, Biff, without giving his whole story, how did he wind up coming to our fair country?
Well, basically, let's just say that he lived in a country called Czechoslovakia. And then one day he wasn't living in a country called Czechoslovakia. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it's something out of a movie how he got here, and a tribute to his strength.
And now for something completely different.
I don't think I'm asking that much. Just now go, wind up monkey.
This is a test of the Carnival Personnel Emergency Podcast System. The podcasters in your area, in voluntary cooperation with state, local, and federal authorities, have developed the system to keep you informed in the event of an emergency. If this had been an actual podcast, the rambling you just heard would have been followed by official boos and hisses. This concludes our test of the Carnival Personnel Emergency Podcast System. This is only a test.
No, hold on.
Boo!
You guys try to contain your excitement. Joe already knows, Biff. Joe already knows. My management, who just got back from a 3-day music festival in Vegas with 2 of her best friends. Right. She had a great time. Strange New World, a Bold New World, a bunch of...
A Sick New World.
Sick New World. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. A bunch of 1, 2, 3 hit wonders from the 90s, kind of huge festival.
Yeah.
You got your sister Hazel. You got your Spin Doctors, I'm guessing. I don't know.
No, more.
No, I'm naming the lamest top 40 bands.
Sisters of Mercy, System of a Down, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Know who else? You know who else is on the bill? Is a Lacuna Coil. Do you know who Lacuna Coil is?
I do not.
Oh, well, you should. They're fantastic. Italian kind of goth metal.
Yeah, there was a lot of goth there. A lot of goth there.
So
that's
she must
the band.
be,
that's the band James and I are going to go see tonight.
Your management must be exhausted after this whirlwind tour, and probably wants to stay home and kind of just crash with the family.
She did. She did go on a hour bus ride to do a 4 or 5 hour kayaking thing. That I'm like, all the times we went to Vegas, why wouldn't it do this? Absolutely gorgeous, amazing, fun. Yep. She had a great time. Yeah, she just got back the other day. Yeah, she's going to spend time with us, except Taylor Swift's in town. And she was like, maybe she'll go to concerts by herself. And she was hesitant because, she can go to almost any concert, walk up to the ticket office and get a face value ticket. She's done that around the world, literally. But this, she's like, yeah, there's nothing under $300-400, and she doesn't want to. And the whole thing is, Gillette's a huge hassle to get in and out. If it's a 2-hour window to get in and a 4-hour window.
Oh, she's playing the stadium.
Yeah, she's playing the stadium.
She's the hottest ticket of the summer.
And then she was, and it's funny because she does. In 2 weeks, she's going down to New Orleans to see, I think, Duran Duran. Okay. Then she's got to go to Chicago for work, but there's a band in town while she's there that she's looking forward to seeing. She won Madonna tickets for August a while ago. So she has a lot of concerts. So she's like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to go. It's not the end of the world. I've been gone. I got a fun trip and a work trip coming up. I'm going to stay this weekend. And then her old boss calls her today and says, I got you an extra ticket for Taylor Swift tomorrow. And it's not somebody my wife would generally want to spend 10 hours with.
Yeah.
But they're gonna Uber there, which is it's honestly on a good day. Yeah. On a not Patriots playing day, it's a 45 minute to an hour to get there.
Yeah.
I don't know what capacity. So if for a football game it's 80,000. I don't know what capacity for a concert is. Is there another 5,000 seats there?
Probably,
because the entire field, right?
Yeah.
So, and I remember just listening to the news, they were making a big deal. Oh, the city of Boston, MBTA, is adding an extra train. Tickets are going on sale to get the train from Gillette to South Station.
By the way, for those of you who aren't familiar with the shoddy MBTA, adding an extra train is like adding an extra chair on the Titanic.
Right. It's 3,000 extra tickets because they usually only run 1 or 2 trains out there. But they're like, oh, we're going to run an extra train. Train tickets sold out within 5 minutes.
Yep.
Like everybody was online in the queue, just like they were to get these tickets.
Yep.
So yeah, so it's great. So she's getting to see Taylor Swift for free. She's getting to see, Madonna this summer for free.
But we got to see Steve Bjork.
We did. We didn't get to go for free though. But hey,
I got to go for free.
You know what? But you spent a lot of time with me. So,
still paying for it.
As my friend, Chris would say, our Resident Evil expert, the most expensive thing in the world is free pussy. He has said that more than a couple times. But yeah, so she has all these, concerts going up, and luckily, that we're not paying for a lot of these tickets because we would hit our debt ceiling.
Well, that so it sounds like a segue to another topic.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's not. Luckily, we're actually going to talk about something completely different.
Yeah. No, there's not. Why even bother talking about it? You know what I mean?
Who fucking gives a shit? I don't even know what your fucking debt and what you a nerd over there. Talk more about the Beaver Cup.
I would like to talk about the Beaver Cup. So, Biff, catch us up. What has been happening that we haven't been able to talk to you lately?
Well, there's the NHL playoffs.
Nope, those aren't happening anymore.
Just like Superman 4 doesn't.
Superman 4 never happened.
Superman 4 never.
Godfather 3. Gosh, good thing. Thank goodness. After Godfather 2, they said, you know what? We've told the story.
Yeah,
it needed to be told.
Right,
we're done.
I mean,
there are only 3 Ghostbusters movies, in my opinion.
They try to pull you back in, but no, yeah. Well, yeah. I'm sorry, but yeah. So I'm watching this other sport.
Schmucky. You're watching a schmucky of it, yeah.
Schmucky, that's it. That involves a lot of these southern teams and stuff like that. So, nothing to do with hockey because there's no hockey.
A lot of banjos.
American South. Yeah.
Instead of organs, they bring banjos.
A lot of, it's like barbecue and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting.
But more importantly, and I'll post this. I always say I'm going to post it. I don't. This is for an audience of one. Joe.
All right, I'll leave.
Today, Joe. I got an S on professional level of Resident Evil 4, which means it unlocks it's the biggest pain in the ass. Like, I didn't want to go down this wormhole, but it unlocks something. It unlocks a suit. Like, there's an IA character that follows you around that you're kind of protecting, and it's annoying because they keep getting kidnapped.
It's like one of those escort kind of missions.
Right. It's a president's daughter. You got to go in, get her out. And every time you turn around, it's like, wait a minute, you were right behind me, and now this bad guy's carrying you away. You can put her in. I can now get it. I unlock the suit of armor, which they can't pick her. Like, when they try to pick her up, it's hysterical. They keep dropping her, and you can throw a hand grenade and blow up everybody around her. No damage to her, because half the time when that character dies, it's friendly fire because she's being carried away, and if you don't shoot the guy carrying her out, and if you use accident, the wrong caliber bullet and it goes through him and like hits her, it's like, gosh darn it.
So you just throw in an Iron Man suit and call it, just fly her away.
And so I haven't played yet. I haven't played I have not played the Gotham Knights, which I'm looking forward to, but I wasn't going to play the new Star Wars game until I saw the commercial with Mark Hamill, and now I'm like, God damn it, Mark Hamill, stop making me love you more. I don't know if you saw the new for Jedi Survivor. Mark Hamill does a commercial with the guy who's the actor in the motion caption suit for the game.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
And Mark Hamill is pissed. They didn't give me 2 lightsabers because the guy has 2 lightsabers.
Right.
And Mark Hamill's like training him, and the guy's finally like, I can't really use the Force, right? I'm just an actor. The commercial makes me want to go out and buy the game, which I did. And then today, management, she's home. She's kind of doing I got the small window to be home, be Supermom. And she's putting together the computer that all the pieces came together for my kid just before she went on her trip, and she tried to put it together before she left, and it didn't really work out, which it made it like all the excitement of Christmas morning. It's like, well, Christmas morning will have to wait 5 more days. So, which the good news and the bad news is that now frees up the PS5 because, and I like the last couple of weeks, the time I've lost. It's like, okay, drop the kids off at school.
Invested. You have to look at it positively.
Invested.
But anyway, so that's my gaming thing. What about you, Joe? How's the Lucium 2.0 coming?
It's pretty stable. And I did make an addition to it.
Ooh.
As did about 30 million Americans last Friday. I bought the new Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, which is the sequel to the much heralded Switch game Breath of the Wild. It came out 5 years ago. And what's funny is I bought Tears of the Kingdom, the new game, last Friday. There were 3 people ahead of me. This was like 3 in the afternoon. I put it on reserve, but I went to go pick it up. It was 3 in the afternoon. There were 3 people ahead of me also getting Breath of the Wild. I'm sorry, Tears of the Kingdom or Zelda.
Right.
And like 2 more people behind me. And I guess there were like hundreds of people there in the morning, like just picking up the game. So this is like the game of the year for so far. This new people loves the Zelda, and this is a fun Zelda. It's a direct sequel to the old game. What made this last Zelda so special, if you're not familiar with it, Zelda was the old Nintendo game, and you do explore, and it's kind of fantasy oriented, but it was very confined. to, like a limited amount of space, and it was kind of linear, or whatever. But this was like a real open world 3D adventure where you get really granular. Your character Link could climb mountains and swim and like do all these sorts of things that he couldn't do before. And now they just made it so that now you can do all those same things, but also do other things. Like you can project yourself through anything with a ceiling. You can jump through and like land on top of, you just like project yourself through the ceiling. And even if it's like a skyscraper, you can just go right up to the top, which is cool. And another thing is you can build literally anything, like with like magic crazy glue. You pick up something, you attach it to another thing, it sticks together. You can make bridges, you can make boats, planes, hovercrafts. You pick up a rock, attach it to a stick, make a hammer, that sort of thing, so that it encourages a lot more creative building, which is fun. So yeah, people are having lots of fun with it. I myself haven't played it yet because it's not 5 years from now. So why would I play the game that just came out? I, by the way, have just beaten the previous game, Breath of the Wild, a couple of days ago, because I was encouraged to, or I was inspired to actually pick up my save game from checking my save file 4 years ago, the last time I played that game. But I finally beat it.
Nice.
And I'm only 20% of the game. So you beat the game, and there's still 80% of things to do. And you know what? Maybe I will. Maybe I will. But my younger son is enjoying Tears of the Kingdom with him, and he's playing it. And is
it a multiplayer or is it a one player?
One player, but that's really you don't want other people involved in the shenanigans.
I get it. I'm not. I as much as I've fallen down the wormhole, I really want to get the S on professional on Resident 4. I'm not doing all the mercenary side missions. I got the suit of armor, and that's really what I wanted, and now I can move on with my life. And
by move on, you mean?
Well, it's funny because what actually is fun, the little guy whose whole world has become soccer, which is great, absolutely great. He's playing FIFA, and he's really learning the game, which is interesting because, I have a friend, my old bass player who lives in Austin, John. He coached his son's junior high basketball team last year. And the first few games, they were not playing well and they weren't communicating. And he had a team meeting and he's like, I hear you guys play Fortnite all the time. Because that was his rule in the house. His son could play, but he couldn't have headphones on. So he could just kind of monitor the talk and make sure you're not playing with toxic people. And he's like, you guys don't shut up. I'm going over here, cover me here. There's something there. You go left. I'm going right, And he's like, he said, everybody get NBA 2K. And for the next couple weeks, I want you guys playing that. And and they did.
Nice.
And they ended up being almost unstoppable because they all understood positioning and passing and they applied that. And so, when my kid got this and he's been asking to play that game, he loves the fact that he can make his own avatar, that he could put himself on Manchester United. He loves the fact that because he's fallen down the Ted Lasso rabbit hole, the fact that you can play as AFC Richmond, you can now play as Wrexham. Like, Ryan Reynolds is now in the game.
Oh my God. All the handsome white men.
Oh my, it's gorgeous. Not handsome, dude. Don't undersell it.
Sorry,
do not like, look, we play with a European soccer star named Crazy Legs on our team. And seriously, I don't agree with a goddamn that guy says politically, but am I right, Biff? He's a gorgeous man. I mean, head to toe. Taylor started calling him the European soccer star because of how he's built and stuff. It's like, yeah, he's definitely somebody who plays on Man City, but he loves it, and it actually has helped him. He was so thrilled the other day. He was late getting to the car pickup place because where practice is, it's a half-mile walk over a hill, and I had to drop his brother at one place and come back. And finally the coach comes by. I'm like, where's Squishy and Lucas? He goes, I've told him the wolves are coming because it's in this huge open thing in the woods, a half hour north in New Hampshire. He's not kidding. And then when he got up there, he was so excited because after his practice, the coach asked him, "Can you go work with the 10 and under team?" Because he's on the 13 and under team.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, can you go run the drills with him?" And as you know, when you teach somebody something else, when you run, it cements it in yours. It helps you understand it. He got named team captain at the last game. He scored 2 goals in his last game. Nice. He's not great yet, but he loves it. He's and it's so funny how many people have come up and just said, because he has the hair that goes all the way down past his ass. How many people on both teams you can overhear? It's like, just watch that kid run, because he does. He does run like a gazelle, not always in the right place. And he has a little Friday night line 2 in him where he's sure he's open and calls for it every single time, no matter how many other teams' jerseys are surrounding him. He has a little bit of that.
Yeah. Not that we've ever seen that when we play hockey or anything.
No, he's convinced that no one's paying attention and no one's passing to him while he's open, but yet I haven't seen a lot of passes. And that's a lower level hockey thing, Joe. The guys who are always screaming for the puck have an allergy to passing. So they're so hard. they will never pass.
They are skating black holes. Yeah.
They'll take such a wide bad shot that it will wind up on a player's stick and it looks like a pass, but that was an accident. But he's getting it and playing FIFA, and it's really nice. And what's really nice about the friend they're the only kids from Lowell who are playing on this Nashua team, so they're kind of really bonding. And this kid that he's friends with, it's quintessential Lowell. He's the only English speaker in the house. His parents are from Brazil. The kid is such a sweetheart and such a good influence. It's like, yeah, he's worth the extra hour drive every practice to go get him and take him and back. But video games can be used for good, apparently.
Oh yeah.
Who knew? No, who knew?
Well, I thought like a lot of places are using Minecraft for some education related stuff. I don't know too much about the whatever, but I understood they're doing some of that with Minecraft. So who knows? And I know great. They used to do Oregon Trail, which is a horrid game, but
it's a wonderful game. I learned about all sorts of dysentery and I learned how to drown in a river because I didn't,
Mr. Harpooni's
like a swimming pool.
Yeah.
Mr. Harpooni's teaching me to be impatient. Look, just to circle back to the Steve Bjork interview, let's say he was awful and didn't like us and wasn't friendly. He starts the goddamn podcast by saying, "Hey, is Carnival personnel a nod to Steve Martin's The Jerk?" We could have ended the podcast there, and it would have been a top 3 podcast.
And 90% of our respondents said we should have.
Yeah, well, right. That's true.
Well, don't read the comments our wives leave. Moving on, but staying on the same topic, I started watching this documentary because I don't know enough about how soccer works, the different leagues, and what FIFA is, and because of Wrexham, I know about the systems in Great Britain, the Premier League, the Champions League, but there's also a Champions Series, which is the 55 European nations with professional leagues at the end of everybody's season.
There are 55 European nations?
Yeah.
Wow.
How fucked up is that?
I did not know that.
Or 55 leagues, that are confirmed leagues that have like minor league systems and all this stuff. And it's confusing that, I got signed by Man City, but I'm on loan to Liverpool. It's like, wait a minute. It's like, so the Ducks signed this one defenseman and they're out of the playoffs 2 months before, and he's not going to play for the LA Kings. They're just loaning him to the LA Kings for the season, but then they're going to play against the Ducks next week. Anyways, so there's a documentary, and as I'm trying to learn, I'm like, you know what? I'm done with American sports. A.G. Price is Right has been trying to get me into soccer forever. Now that my little guy's in it, and because of all the apps, because Peacock, the streaming service Peacock covers the Premier League.
Well, yeah, because NBC had all the Premier League.
And so all the games are on live, or you can watch them on tape later. But then there's an app, BeIN Sports, BEIN, and it's a French. It's the ESPN of like Europe, but it's based in France. So they cover the French league and La Liga, the Italian league, and so. But I'm watching this documentary, and it's like, holy shit! I knew that Saudi Arabia is starting a league, and that Ronaldo, arguably one of the 2 or 3 GOATs at the end of his career, is making more money than he's ever made by going over and playing in the Saudi league. And people are like, yeah, that's blood money. Like, is it Live Golf or Live Golf?
Live Golf, yeah.
Live Golf, yeah.
Well, so I'm watching this documentary, and it's a 4-part thing. Well, so far there's 4 episodes. I don't know how long it's going to go. It's called the Super League. So what happens is every year there's a championships league where the 55 recognized professional sports leagues throughout Europe have a tournament like the NCAA, and it makes something like $8 billion. It's watched more than all American sports finals put together. And the money, 95% of it trickles back into youth soccer, the different leagues. It supports the next generation coming up. It's why, it's why, it's like the NFL. How the fuck can San Diego and Green Bay and Cincinnati, these small cities, have good teams? It's because, they've leveled the playing fields. Portugal is not a big country. It is not a rich country.
Not a smart country. Not a smelling country.
Not a clean country.
No.
Not
illiterate. Why did you choose Portugal, by the way?
Because Portugal is just a soccer powerhouse. I equate them with like the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are a tiny city that should not have one of the best teams historically in football. And the number of amazing, I think, is Ronaldo Portuguese or Messi? No, I think Ronaldo might be Portuguese.
It's not so much. Maybe he speaks Portuguese.
No. But that's the thing. It's like so many amazing players because the way the money is filtered down, that these smaller countries and these smaller leagues actually have a shot. Like, a couple years ago they did. They had a worst to first, a team that was like 2 tiers down, made in the Championships League. It was like, remember in the World Series a few years ago, there was one team that salary was like $40 million for the team playing the Yankees, who were like $400 million.
Right.
And they won. So that can happen. But this documentary is all about how the 6 or 8 biggest teams, the richest of the rich, the Manchester Uniteds, the Man Cities, the Real Madrid, the St. Pierre in France, have said, you know what? We're really the big draw. Why don't we leave and form our own league?
Oh, right.
It's like in any sport. It's like, if the 6 biggest market teams said, yeah, the NFL's nice and all, but why should we revenue share with the Green Bay Packers? Why should we revenue share with the Cincinnati Bengals? They can't afford to compete with us on money. And the Dallas Cowboys can be 5-12. And that stadium is going to have 110,000 people every fucking. The San Diego Chargers, who are now Los Angeles, the San Diego Chargers made the playoffs 6 out of 7 years, and 6 of the following opening games, home games, were blacked out because they couldn't sell out. But yet, because of the way revenue, we're going to split the TV money evenly.
Right.
And it's like, and now it's this documentary. I'm like, just as I'm getting into the sport and understanding it and loving it, now I find out, you're as big a pig fuckers as the NCAA. Major League Baseball.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, by the way, I'm taking away not only my man card, I'm also taking away my Portuguese card because I just looked up. Yeah, Ronaldo is a Portuguese player.
Thank you. Why do I know that? No, because I knew he's great. I know he's dirty. I know he's lazy. All the things.
He checked off all the boxes. All the signs were there.
Wow.
He's also shiftless and And I wouldn't trust him with children. So you know,
but I mean, this is the last credible person. I'll make you for tuning in.
But listen, you know, look, listen. The sport is the sport, but the organizations that frame it are essentially just
corrupt.
They're run by corrupt people,
right?
Corrupt, horrible people,
and that's why the Saudis would be perfect.
No, seriously. Well, I mean, here's the good thing about the NHL salary cap. Here's the salary cap. Here's the floor. You can't spend under this. And the NFL, here's the salary cap. You can tank for a year if you want. You can tank for a couple of years, stockpile that money, and then sign somebody. But in baseball, where there's no salary cap, honestly, and I mean this, I'm not being funny when I say this. Why the fuck does the Pittsburgh Pirates even bother to field a team? Because there are some years, I mean, they're a historical team. They got this great park. They got a fan support. But
they're like the AM radio of Major League
Baseball. You know what? So maybe I'll adopt them as my team, or maybe they'll adopt me as their spokesperson. But in Major League Baseball, not only is there a salary cap, there's no floor. There's nothing that says an elephant
they have a luxury tax,
pitch.
right?
Is there
a luxury tax? Like
the luxury, right? So if the Dodgers want to go over the salary cap, it's like, okay, if you want to go over the salary cap, you can give more money to us, but that money then doesn't go to the smaller teams.
Oh, I thought it did for some reason. It does not.
But that's the thing.
I don't know how it works.
Because before the salary cap with the NHL, I don't know if it was a while. There was one team that truly had a salary of like under 10 or 12. It was ridiculous and they weren't a real NHL team. They weren't trying to be an NHL team but that's why the NFL, as awful as it is, they understood 30 years ago that, unless all these teams have a chance, that these teams are going to go away, that the fan support's going to dry up, that, if Green Bay, who started the NFL, cannot compete with the teams in New York, the teams in Los Angeles, the teams in Dallas. So that's why they have a floor and a cap. So this soccer thing, what's really sad is, the smaller countries that have produced some of the greatest players, because the way the money has always been distributed, it is not going to be there to develop these teams. It's not going to be there for the next. So, and that's, and you listen to this one side of the fence saying, well, and it's true. It's like, look, if Dallas is shitty, but they're still the highest rated team in football. I mean, they won almost 20 years without winning a playoff game, but yet they had 4 or 5 primetime games a year because everybody wanted to see them.
I mean, they're still like the basically, one of the basically top 5 at all time, probably top 2, right?
The Patriots are not going to be good this year, but they have 5 or 6 primetime games. They have 17 games, and 5 or 6 are Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, primetime games, because, the legacy will carry another 5-6 years. But that's the whole thing. It's like, if Green Bay can't compete, if the smaller teams can't compete, what happens in 5-6 years? And so that's what people are worried about. It's like, okay, this Saudi league is going to pay ungodly money to get talent just to come take their blood money. At the same time, this championships league, if these 6-8 teams break away and start their own league, how much does that really screw everything down the line? So the documentary is interesting, but it's kind of sad because it is fun. I understand the game now. You know what? I kind of almost sort of know what offsides is. And it's ambiguous. It's so in layman's terms, you can't be behind the last defender before the ball's kicked. But if the guy, if you're in a sprint with the defender, once the ball is kicked, then you can have like a breakaway, but you can't be behind the last defender. So I'm learning the rules. I'm loving that my son is loving playing. I'm loving that, this is the first thing that he's ever done that isn't, hey, you're going to be late, that he's in the car beating the horn saying, let's go. I want to be there a half hour early. Maybe I'll get to work with the kids today. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? So Anyways, that's my sports thing. But TV, let's wrap up and get into TV. My friend Joe, or I might say, well, we'll see what happens. It could be my friend Joe. It could be my former friend Joe. Jay, why don't you tell people why our friendship is on the fence?
Let's see. It's honestly, I don't know what you're talking about.
Barry.
Oh yes, good old Barry, the HBO series starring Bill Hader, wrapping up its fourth and final, right? Oh my God, I'm so stupid. Yeah, it's 4 seasons, 8 episodes each season, and they have 2 episodes left. This season's been quite the nail biter and head turner and kind of eyebrow raiser, but everything's coming to a head. Barry is probably going to pay for his past sins, but we don't know yet. We don't know for sure. But I implored Jacques to catch up. So because I've been watching it weekly, and it's only 8 episodes, it's a breeze. Each episode's a half hour long. Jesus Christ, like a dream. Yeah. And you'll barely notice the anxiety. And as I watched the latest episode, I was having anxiety thinking of Jacques' anxiety watching this episode because, things may or may not happen, and you just don't know. And the way they tell a story on that show is second to none. But yeah, so we got a couple episodes left, and it'll be. I'm sure it'll be very memorable. At least until the next thing comes around.
It's when the wife and I got into Dexter late, so we jumped on board season 3, going into season 4. And as I'm watching season 1, I'm like, well, I know there's a season 2. He's not going to die. I know there's a season 3. He's not going to die. Right. And it's like, and with Dexter, like with Barry, if he's going to die, it's going to be fucking horrible. It's not going to be, he parked the car in the garage and drifted himself to sleep while listening to Barry Manilow songs. or let's go with REO Speedwagon. I want to take issue. Joe said Barry, with Bill Hader. I'm going to say it's the show Barry with Henry Winkler, but that's me. I'm a big, Mr. Cousineau fan, but seriously, Henry Winkler is amazing.
Yeah,
like absolutely.
I mean, everybody is pretty.
Yeah, everybody's amazing,
right? In this show,
even the kid actors, have been like.
I mean, even it's like, I want that to come out of that. Did you remember that scene?
Yeah. So
and that's not what you thought she was going to say. She was going to be like,
right. You're right. You expected
that's
one
our Hitler.
Yeah. Can we get through one goddamn podcast without referencing Hitler?
Oh, Jesus.
God, I think our Hitler count is up to 300 straight episodes. Anyway, you were saying, Biff?
No, so I loved Barry, and I was watching Barry, and then we decided to cut the cord, and I no longer had HBO. So I literally watched like the first 4 episodes, I want to say. I was, this is great.
But don't worry, you don't need HBO coming next month, because you can then subscribe to Max.
Yeah, whatever. Another streaming service, right?
No, because it's not HBO Max. No. That's
no.
Is it HBO Go? Is it HBO Go?
No, and it's not HBO Now or then. No, it's HBO. Yeah. It'll just be Max, which includes, but it's not limited to, shitty reality programming from the Discovery Channel. And by the way, speaking of TV that's going away, I saw an article that Disney Plus is cutting about 20 or so shows to kind of do the same thing that Warner Brothers Discovery was doing, was writing off these lower performing streaming shows to, cut down their bottom line. And I guess that by saving $2 billion, they're going to lose like shows like the Willow series that came out. There was a show called Big Shot with John Stamos as a girls basketball coach.
Yep.
But like a lot of those Disney Plus series are just kind of going away, or series that had moved to Disney Plus from other. Well,
that's the upsetting thing. It's like, HBO had folded in all the DC stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, instead of this being here and that being there, why don't we fold it all under one roof? So when we kill it.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's supposed to be a Penguin series coming out.
Right.
Or is there?
But I mean, in all fairness, right? I mean, it's like when we were growing up, here are the channels, or here are essentially the sources of new material, right? And now there's so many, right? I mean, at some point this is gonna have to happen, right? Because there's just too many providers, and they're each doing their whatever set of things, and they're all trying to find their niche to get their viewers. But in the end, right? I mean, it all has to, haven't we kind of oversaturated, like, just by sheer numbers?
Yeah,
and this is on top of the fact that, like, sports are just bananas right now. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. In the great streaming wars of the 2010s, there was this clamoring of just getting content to get people to subscribe, and it was the bait and switch. It was kind of like, okay, we got them to subscribe. Now we got to cut all this shit because there's no way we can sustain all of these things at once. We can't keep all these original programs on at once. Guess what? We never had the plans to keep all of these going on at once.
So here's the matrix. Here is the calculus that they follow. If you didn't subscribe, okay, you like this character. You like Nick Cage.
Right.
And Marvel's going to have a Nick Cage series. If you didn't subscribe because you weren't a Daredevil fan, but you like Nick Cage, by the end of the second season, if you didn't subscribe, you weren't going to. On the other hand, if you jumped on board for Nick Cage, well, now you're watching Daredevil. You're watching Jessica Jones. You're watching, all the Marvel movies are here.
Right.
You're not going to unsubscribe because they canceled it. That's why, honestly, it's less than 10% of the streaming shows got a third season. It had to be a Maisel. It had to, like, Daredevil was the only one that got a third season in the Marvel TV series, because it was that big of a breakout thing. And that's why so far that character for the Marvel TV show on Netflix bled over into the MCU and was in the last Spider-Man movie, because it has to be that big. And so many people know that, most likely writers, make sure you're wrapping things up at the end of season 2.
Maybe this means that we're moving more toward a British style of television structure and series structure, where it's like, every 10 years a series comes out of 3 episodes, and like kind of like Sherlock, it's a very limited series, but it's quality television, and it's not quantity over quality per se.
Right.
So maybe we'll get something a little bit more curated, but I don't know. But my guess is we'll probably get more competition, or ice trucker fishing, whatever the fuck.
Ice trucker fishing.
It's like, I've been working out a bit where there's so many dating apps we don't need anymore, except my new dating app, which perfectly matches you with your perfect dating app. It's like there's so many systems, like the streaming things, where it's like that's the nice thing about Joe's Plex and my friend Mike's Plex. It's like, yeah, they curate, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, Mike likes this, I'll probably like it. Oh, Joe likes this, pretty good chance I'm gonna like it. And I'll check those. Are you watching anything? No, you're not watching it. It's just all hockey all the time.
Actually, no, because now we have these days off, right? So actually, on my one day off, I started watching Beef, and so I think I will continue to watch Beef.
Oh yeah, Beef was really good.
Yeah, so we'll go from there.
Yeah,
in honor of so that is on Netflix.
Yes,
it's on Netflix. But it's in honor of AAPI whatever month, History Month. Basically, it's one of those because it's AAPI, they've been pushing it. So this is with Ali Wong and I can't remember the guy from the from The Walking Dead.
No, I was like Randall Park is in everything.
Yeah, it's Stephen Jun or something like that.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
But anyway, so that's why I started watching it. Pretty good so far. So we'll see how it goes. There's a little bit of controversy with one of the cast members, but it is what it is. So
yeah, not like The Flash, right?
Moving on.
It's different. It's a little bit different.
Do we have a parenting tip out of either you fine gentlemen?
Biff, I forwarded you my parenting tip. Did you receive it?
Did you?
Hit refresh.
Check your junk mail. It might be in the junk.
Chuck, why?
Well, if you can't find it, then I'm sorry, I can't divulge. I was going to have you tell you I was going to allow you to give the public my parenting tip on my behalf. But
I see.
That was a little convoluted and probably went nowhere. But anyways, it killed 30 seconds. Biff, what's your parenting tip?
My parenting tip? I have a child that's willing to drive and has his own ATM card, and bring back food, because that creates a huge level of inconvenience for all of us. That's about it.
My parenting tip is, although you want to, although you've been waiting years to do it, the "I told you so" doesn't help. Just be happy when they turned a corner. And I've told my little guys for years, it's like, how long do we have to do jiu-jitsu? It's like, until you can keep me from putting you in the car, or until you have something else that you find that you love. And both of them over the last couple months have kind of turned a corner. The oldest one is so excited because he got hired as a lifeguard. He gave up his February vacation, took lifeguard training through the city. It was 50 hours. He spent more time at lifeguard training over February vacation than he would have in school if he had school. But it was worth it. And now he comes to me a couple weeks ago and says, "Hey, can we sign back up at the Y so I can get ready, so I can get in lifeguarding shape?" Because it's a different animal than going. And he's like, "Do I have to do this?" And it's like, no, because he found his own thing. And the little guy, same thing with soccer. It's like, once they found their own, I'm going to stop signing you up for shit. So try it. And then tell me how much it sucks, but try everything. And now they're in a better place. And it's so hard for me not to say, "Yeah, I told you." You know what I mean? I made, but don't, because looking at the notes makes you a prick. Also doesn't help anything. Causes animosity. Wait a minute, this list of reasons why not to say "I told you so" is pretty phenomenal. So my parenting tip is, just be happy when they turn a corner that you accidentally might have helped nudge them in the right direction once. So, and that's it. And I'm done.
There you go.
Biff, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you for
good to see
time.
all you guys.
Good to see you as well. And I know you have a hard out soon, so I'm only going to take up 10 minutes of your time by ranting.
Good.
Jacques, we failed to mention that we also watched the documentary Chop and Steal, which was I thought it was an entertaining addition to our night of odd TV viewing. Look up Chop and Steal. I won't even give you the rundown. Just Google Chop & Steal with an E at the end, and you won't be disappointed. Also, who knew that Jerry Lewis hosted The Tonight Show for a brief period of time in the 60s? I did, and now Jacques does, because I showed him one of the episodes that's on YouTube, which is chopped up into multiple parts, annoyingly, like 20-minute segments. But remember back in the 60s, they were like 90-minute episodes with like.
Well, even in the 70s, I remember when it went, even in the isn't it in the 80s when it went from 90 to an hour? I think I want to say.
Yeah, I think you're right. Basically, when Letterman started is when.
Right.
And Letterman produced. I mean, Carson produced that. He owned the hour of Letterman anyway. So, but yeah, you're right. It was a 90-minute show, but this felt like 90 minutes back when Jerry Lewis hosted. Funny as it was. So
was that between Carson and Jack Parr or something like that? Is that what it is?
It was when Jack Parr left. Yes, right. So Jack Parr left, and then he kind of filled in for like a week or so. The announcer Hugh Downs.
Wow.
He hosted Concentration back in the 60s, but he was also an on-air personality. He was the kind of the sidekick. And the segment that we watched, it went on for it had to have been 45 minutes. But the segment, it was all desk piece. It was like very little guests. Like they were promoting like 4 different guests, but half of that show was devoted to Jerry Lewis and Hugh Downs going over like memorization exercises and games and stuff like that. And, like remembering the order in which words appeared. And it was, I don't know. It was, it was funny to see. It was kind of like the 3 a.m. of the Jerry Lewis telethon, you know, like that segment where it was just like really compelling, but yet excruciatingly boring at the same time. Kind of like the end of this podcast, you know? And this is my homage. You know, I'm going to do my impersonation of Jerry Lewis as Martin Short would do it, with a lozenge in your mouth. You know, when I decided to host a podcast, I thought I would take the traditional podcast and turn it on its head and really use it as a showcase for not just one of my talents, but all of my talents. You know, whether it be singing or dancing or telling a joke or singing a song. None of those things I can do. But what I can do is remind the people at home to don't forget.
There's nothing you can do. While they got fucked, I did my best to get used. While they got fucked, I did my best to get used.